Hey everybody, good evening and welcome to the Unexpected Pairing. It's great to have you with us. I know some of you are from Canada over there as well, which is great. Thanks for joining us, Cheese Needs. Just to explain to you what's going on this evening, shortly I'm going to be introducing you to everybody that's with us this evening, which is great. And we're going to talk about what they do, their jobs, and then we're going to taste some cheese. Then we're going to taste some cider, and we're going to finish this evening on Q&As. There are lots of Q&As, and we're going to ask our audience, and I think Lily's also got some lovely questions ready and primed for all of you as well, and we're going to be asking those questions to all of you this evening. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Let's get things started, and I'm just going to introduce you to Sabina. Sabina, can you say hi?
Hello, I'm Sabina. I'm from Stitcherton Dairy. I may not be the face of Stitcherton that you're used to seeing compared to my more prominent dad, Joe Schneider. So I'm Joe's eldest daughter, ever behind the scenes of Stitcherton. We've made the cheese since I was 5 years old. So I wonder if I would win the award for the most batches of Stitcherton tasted, because I think it's probably in the tens of thousands by now.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Sabina, as well. And I understand you've just driven all the way down from Scotland, which is amazing.
Yeah, funnily enough, the weather was better in Scotland, but happy to be here.
Goodness. Fantastic, and happy Thanksgiving as well for all of our American friends. It's their big day today, and I know that you'll be celebrating that this weekend as well, as a big weekend for you and your dad and your family. Great. Andy May, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi there. I've been at Sanford Orchards for the last 7 years. I started as a harvest temp picking apples, and slowly worked my way through the business, doing pretty much an apprenticeship for the first 18 months. And then I started taking over the cider. I've up until literally 3 weeks ago, I was the head cider maker. I'm now living in Scotland as well. So I'm in Dunbar, and I'm hoping to help distribute and sell Sanford Orchards and Devon cider into Scotland, which is really exciting. But I'm still working with the business and providing consultancy for cider making. So yeah, this particular batch of ice cider was start to finish my baby. So really excited to try it with you guys and see the pairing with the cheese.
Oh, that's fantastic. And do you think, Andy, that your cider Sanford would ever consider opening up where you are? And is that a potential? Is that something potentially that could happen?
What, making it up here?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but certainly there's the opportunity for collaboration, I think, which it's kind of ties in with what we're doing tonight. But cider made with apples in Scotland, blended with Devon cider, that kind of thing. Yeah, there's definitely opportunities for that up here, which is really exciting.
Fantastic. And probably more naturally ice cider as well, with frozen apples, I'm thinking as well, which could be fun. Andy, it's great. We're going to catch up with you in a little while as well. I can't wait to sample. To be fair, just before we got online, I took a slug of your beautiful ice cider. I had a chomp on your great cheese, Sabina, and I can't stop smiling. It's such a good pairing. It's great. Anyway, you probably know that in the audience already, for those of you who already tried it. So, Justin, let's move over to you, fella, and introduce yourself to us.
Hello, I'm Justin. I'm cheesemonger and afternoon at number 2 Pound Street. And theoretically, James's right-hand man. So what we do here at number 2 Pound Street is search for the best British and Irish cheeses to kind of showcase them and bring them to the British public. Not only am I in the shop, I end up doing markets as well. So that's a great interaction with customers to find out what the British public really want. And in terms of affineur means to refine. So what we also do is take on cheeses that are exceptional or have potential. And we try and bring out the very best of those cheeses to a profile that's unique to us and kind of be proud in what we do.
So just Stitcherton that you love, just very briefly.
Stitcherton, it's one of those cheeses that I love. I actually went to Henley Market today and sold Stitchelton. And it's one that I can sell with so much confidence. People that come up to me and say, I don't like blue, once they're believing in what I'm doing, they give me the opportunity to actually get them to taste it because it's super, super unique. It's one of those that has layers, textures, and isn't aggressive. It's got so much flavor. But for those that are afraid of blue, once you actually get that into their mouths, they start salivating, and it's that wow factor.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Justin. So I think we're gonna be able to discuss why those flavors are so important in the next few minutes, I'm sure. And you're going to find out from source. We're going to find out definitely from Sabina how and why it tastes so brilliant. We're going to taste the cider in a moment, the ice cider, and find out why does this taste so damn fine. And which brings me on to the next person, damn fine cheesemonger. Well done, you. So the unexpected pairing, we are thrilled to have on the panel this evening Lily Morris, who is the Young Cheesemonger of the Year 2023. I had the great fortune, big round of applause for that. Had the great fortune of meeting you in Trondheim in Norway at the World Cheese Awards. And you blew everybody away with your knowledge, skills, and yeah, congratulations. And your palate, which is so super important as a cheesemonger. Yeah. Lily, tell us about yourself, and we'll get back to you in a little while as well to get more into detail.
Yeah, so I run my family's artisan cheese counter within our farm shop. I've been doing it for 2 years now. Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to sell things like Stitchelton. I'm very much involved, like you guys at Number 2 Pound Street, with British artisan cheese. Yeah, it's just my life really. And people might know me off my Instagram, The Petite Cheese. And yeah, I just love being able to share my passion for artisan cheese with everyone and to educate people on proper cheese in some respects. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I think highlighting why we brought this together, which I should have said at the very beginning, the reason why I thought this would be a good idea was on the back of the Chiswick Cheese Market and the great work that they do. That's Lucy Coughlin, Fran, and all the lovely people, Abigail, and the great people who are behind Chiswick Cheesemonger. Bunch of authors, very clever ladies who put this great idea together, which is a charity. It's not for profit as well, putting money into the cheesemonger of the year as well, which is super, super important, and a very valuable addition over the last 3 to 4 years, 3 years now since we've been doing Chiswick Cheese Market, which we started at Number 2 Pound Street. So they put a competition on recently, and the competition was the Tastes of the Unexpected. Now, for those of you that remember Tales of the Unexpected, all of you won't, but I will, because I'm of that sort of special age now. Tales of the Unexpected was an incredible series, and Lucy thought it'd be a good idea to call it Taste of the Unexpected. Long story short, Emma Young, the lovely Emma Young, brilliant cheesemonger and knowledge, and great book as well, which is just released as well. Patrick McGuigan, some great luminaries in the cheese world, all got together to compete with what would be the best pairing of cheese with a condiment or a glass of beverage, be that alcoholic or otherwise. And when Lucy asked me, what are you going to put in, James? I said, well, Stitchelton, of course. And she said, what are you going to pair with it? Well, something sweet, I said. She said, and I think I first said medlar, which is an interesting fruit. And then she said, well, what about ice cider? So we did it with ice cider. And when I tasted it, I was super confident. So this evening, through the collaboration of Chiswick Cheese Market, Stitchelton, ice cider from Sanford, we pulled everybody together and great palates to put this together. And if it's not for collaboration, independent business wouldn't be here like this. So thank you very much for that, Lily. Thanks everybody at Chiswick Cheese Market for getting us here as well. So because of Chiswick, that's why we won the silver knife. So it's good fun. And I beat Perry Wakeman as well. He did Cinnaden Hill with Coca-Cola fizzy sweet bottles, which is very interesting, and it did actually work. So well done, Perry, as well, who's an incredibly talented cheesemonger from Rennet and Rind. Right, we're going to crack on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to now go back to, who am I going to go back to first? I'm going to go back to Sabina. Yeah, we're going to go back to you. And we're going to start asking you a few questions about cheese and why does it taste so damn good? So I'm going to put you on the spotlight, and you're going to tell us why.
Well,
Over to you.
everyone. Yeah, I think I'll start by saying that very similar to Lily, cheese and food have been my entire life since I was very young. So I think I've been really privileged to grow up with really good access to like the very best food, which doesn't always have to be the most expensive. But yeah, lots of opportunities for really understanding like our relationship. And one of those great examples, I think, is my dad's own cheese. Well, I guess our family cheese, really. So this is Stitchelton. It's a unpasteurized version of what I guess we would call Stilton, even though that's more of an alleged, because we all know can't officially be called Stilton. But I think the Stilton lovers, the Stitchelton lovers among us would argue that it's, if not parallel, exceeding the other Stiltons we know. Unique creaminess and balance of veining tend to be amongst the best feedback that we get about this cheese, and also its diversity in flavour. So you'll often hear us talking about the difference in flavour profiles of the cheese using summer milk versus winter milk. So like more umami notes versus fresher spring notes of, funnily enough, crisp apple, to link in our pairing for later on. But yeah, I've had the privilege of pretty much getting to experience every aspect of all the love and care that goes into making this delicious piece of cheese. There's photographic evidence of me stood in an empty husk of a barn on our farm here on the Warwick estate in Nottinghamshire as a 25-year-old with a hard hat, and you're looking around like, at some point in the future, this is just churning out the most amazing cheese. But yeah, we really started from the bottom with this project, and the cheese has definitely gone through an evolution in its time period. Those who've known the cheese throughout its development will know that there's always tweaking with the recipe. It's very hard to pin down what exactly makes it taste so flipping good, but there are a number of important adjustments that have come through along the way. One of them being the fact that we switched at a point in the making to using only the morning milk. So the milk from the morning is coming out of the cow at their body temperature, and it actually runs straight from the milking parlour over a road in a pipe and straight into the making room and ends up straight in the vat. So the milk is coming in at its natural temperature. We don't have to aggressively heat the milk or alter it very much. And I think that's just a sneak peek of some of the finer touches my dad has come across over the years to really sort of refine this cheese and get it to be as good as it can be, really.
So, Sabina, just tell me, how long has your dad been making this cheese now? Since
2006, I believe. We moved north from the Cotswolds, where we were based at Dalesford Organic, to work on a project in collaboration with Neal's Yard Dairy, obviously to revive traditional Stilton, work in progress. Revive traditional Stilton the way it would have been made in farmhouses, using unpasteurized milk, trying to get back to the real roots of this cheese that we all love.
I'd like to bring Lily in a second as well. Lily, if you've got a question, I'll bring you on as well. But one question I've got is, when you make this cheese, when I compare it to other blue cheeses that might be of a similar vein, without spelling it out, what I find with Stitchelton is that there is more moisture in this cheese. It seems to be more fudgy, more umami and brothy as you get towards the rind, with even caramel notes, and I even get orange peel, and just a massive journey. But when I eat Stitchelton, I like to pick bits of the cheese out. So I'll oh, I want to eat the blue, and then, oh, I want to eat the bit by the rind, and I have, so there's so many different flavors, and there are in, let's say Stilton, for example, there are, but this is more moist. It's kind of different. What is it that there must be something that you do in the make room? Can you shed any light on that at all?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that comes into it. Maybe one of the first steps of that is the fact that we mix the salt into the curd mix by hand. So that's in batches of 1 cheese worth of curd. So we mill our curd into a bowl, 1 cheese worth, we add the salt, and then that's mixed by hand by one of the team. So me or one of the rest of the team. I'm sure Justin will have had experience of this. But it's great for having that like natural homogenization of like the curds with the salt. So it creates a bit of diversity, like the pockets of curd with a bit more salt. It kind of creates, it creates like a diversity in flavor in the cheese. And then I guess maybe the major contributor is just how much care we take in the bluing. So you'll be able to see anyone who has a piece of the piercing holes on the side. We wait quite a long time to pierce the cheese, which piercing the cheese, allowing oxygen in, is actually what creates all the bluing. That allows the penicillium mold to interact and turn that lovely blue color and introduce those flavors. But the bluing can't start to occur until we pierce the cheese. So I think compared to other producers, we let the cheese sit with itself for a lot longer before we actually pierce the cheese and introduce that oxygen. So it has time to build that bit more flavor before we introduce the blue, which controls the blue, but then also I think contributes a lot to those different textures in the center versus the rind. If that makes sense.
Lily, do you have a question?
Yeah, I've got lots of questions. But first off, what's your favorite part of like the cheese making when you're making Stilton?
For me, it has to be a nostalgic thing, I guess, because the first thing we were allowed to do as children, my sister and I, going to work in the dairy, was what we call rubbing up, which is kind of analogous to icing a cake, really. You're presented with this cylinder of Stitchelton curd, and you use a butter knife to painstakingly smooth over all the tiny curds on the outside and create like a frosting all around the outside. And it's really satisfying. It's hard to get good at, and there's quite steep rivalry within the make team
Really?
of your time up. So if you come in as a visitor, you'll be challenged to rubbing up, and you'll feel ashamed to be with. But it's all part of the journey.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Justin did a make there. He's just sent a private message, everybody. He's saying he got offered a job from the back on the back of rubbing up. It could be read
Wow.
wrongly, everybody. But I'm guessing rubbing up as well is to ensure there's no fissures, early fissures for any early bluing. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. It's that first step to creating that nice solid rind that's going to trap everything you want inside and keep all the cheesemongers on the outside as well.
Excellent. Lily.
Yeah. Next one is what's your killer pairing within your family? Obviously, you obviously eat a lot of Stitchelton. What do you like to pair it with?
It's interesting. There's been so many iterations over the years, and we're so lucky. On Welbeck, we have amazing producers all around us. We have the Welbeck Abbey Brewery, we have the Welbeck Farm Shop, who are incredible butchers and are really great at having like a good comprehensive wine selection. But like my personal favourite, we have the Welbeck Bakehouse attached to the School of Arts and Food on the estate, and they create these incredible sourdough crackers that are like basically burnt. But
nice.
You've frozen there, Lily. I'm sorry,
Oh,
Sabina, you've frozen. You're okay, Lily. You're there.
Oh,
just talk about very briefly whilst Sabina's frozen. You're back a bit more now. I drive up over 200 miles to come and get your cheese, and have a brew with your old man. But I also drive up to the Welbeck Farm Shop to get a pork pie with Stitchelton on top, and it's kind of
nice.
the very best experience. I parked my car and just the world stopped when I had a bite of this pie. It was just
Oh,
absolutely brilliant. Honestly, the
amazing.
jelly, the Stitchelton, the pastry, the meat. It was like, what just happened to me? I had to take a photograph and do an Instagram immediately. Your cheese and your pies up there are just bang on, because that's the home of pork pie land as well, isn't it? Pretty
Yeah,
much,
they're
closely,
nearly.
nearly. Yeah, nearly. Okay. I think I'm going to bring Justin in because Justin's got a quick question. Justin.
Sabina, how many cows are on the farm, and who actually looks after them?
Oh, it's interesting. I don't know the most recent figure for the herd size, but we tend to operate relatively.
Oh, I can't hear you. You haven't got your voice.
Is that any better?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, interesting.
They're
Oh.
muted now, not us. There we go.
So how many cows are on the farm and who looks after them? Justin is asking.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Very loud and clear.
Nice. So I think we tend to operate relatively small herd. So the herd fluctuates about 180 cows. Like that may be wrong for the current estimates, but they're all looked after by our amazing herdsman Graham Walker. He'll be joining us for Thanksgiving with his family on the weekend, and an incredible team of herdsmen. But it's really useful that my dad has always been agriculturally minded. He studied agricultural engineering at university, so he's always been keen to work with those guys to try and come up with the best, most sensible solutions. And we obviously have we have to put a lot of trust in them, really, because the milk you're getting for your cheese is only as good as the health of the cows and what they're eating. So we're very invested in how they're treated. And there's lots of discussions about how cow feed translates into flavour. We've definitely noticed that over the years, as like their local habitat on the farm has slightly changed with the type of grass. But it's just all really interesting to like have insight into that sense, because we're right on the farm and we don't have our milk delivered to say, it's just right there on tap. You have a lot more flexibility. You can make adjustments like that. You just walk over to Graham's house and you have a chat, and suddenly you have a solution. Or yeah,
they have an amazing relationship, don't they? Because when I was there doing the make, Graham would come up to the window and knock on the window and just let him know that how much he's got left, if Joe could take more milk. Yeah, they're just in sync with each other.
It's a really cool partnership. They're obviously great friends. We've had great herdsmen over the years. I used to bring our herdsman cupcakes as a little child. We had a great bond. But they're so important. Like I don't think any cheesemaker should underestimate how important the milk stage is. I mean, we all know how important it is, but like that relationship is like super key for being able to control all those unknowns, because it can be scary sometimes, cheese making. Like farming is inherently like turbulent. I think having a base of people around you also that you can call on when things maybe aren't going so well, it's just like super invaluable.
Because it's not as though they're using the same recipe every day. That milk changes and fluctuates on the proteins depending on the feed. So to have a herdsman like that, knowing what his cattle are doing day in, day out, must be just a godsend for your dad.
For a man who loves control as much as my dad, I think it's pretty ideal.
I think it's.
Oh, we lost the audio.
Oh, we're there again. That's good. Can you hear me now? It's all good.
Yeah.
Good.
So what I wanted to say was, and we want to bring Andy May McLeod in a second. I want you to give your feedback on what we should all be chomping on the blue, by the way, everybody out there in cyberspace.
Oh yeah.
Cheese, have a good old chomp on it before we do the ice cider. I think that's super important. One thing I wanted to just to say, what I've learned over the years of cheese. I've been involved in cheese for at least 2 or 3 decades in restaurants and in my shop for the last 13 years. But with this cheese phenomenon, Stitchelton, I think a lot of the journey is down to what you're feeding them. Of course, as you said, the herbal lays, the flower meadows, the minimal tilling, trying to sequester carbon to ensure that we've got a very healthy soil with invertebrates that are kicking around, that are giving what we need back to the earth. Which is super important. I think farmers like your father and your herdsmen and everything that you're doing on the land there is testimony to how we should be looking at artisan cheese today. And it's nothing that's new, it's old farming. And we're going back to those methods, but using and embracing modern technology to allow us to prepare and find the very best milk. And one thing I noticed when I was at Stitchelton on one of my visits was how incredibly quiet the dairy is. The cows are happy, and how incredibly clean all the cows are. The farm is incredibly well kept, and that says a heck of a lot about the way that you produce your cheese. It's a beast of a cheese in a very positive way, and it's thrilling for me. I enjoy this cheese. Andy, I know you're the cider guy, but we eat a lot of cheese with your cider, I've heard. So, tell us about what you feel about this cheese right now, and if you've got a question potentially for Sabina.
Well, I've eaten quite a lot of it so far. It's really nice. Oh, sorry, a bit of reverb. Yeah, no, it's really fascinating actually listening to Sabina talking about the cheese making process. There's some real similarities there between cider making and cheese making, and how intertwined it is with nature. The apples that we use and the orchards that we use, they're very natural environments. Every year all of our apples are very different, so kind of laying back with that cheese and how you use the morning milk rather than the later milk, all those kind of important little details that make your cheese so special. It's also very similar to like how with cider we specifically use apples made for cider making. They're grown in Devon, where we have extraordinary climate and soil conditions for growing cider apples. And I mean, we also have this, Devon's got 2 coastlines, so we're buffered by the sea there, so we have a more kind of temperate climate. But yeah, it's really interesting. The pairing is like, I don't know how many people have had a go yet. Please do have a sup on some ice cider. I will tell you how to make it shortly. But
You don't have to ask twice.
Yeah, the pairing is fascinating because the cheese is so unctuous and savoury, and it's got so many layers to it. And then in comes the ice cider, and it brings out some, like, I mean, the ice cider is itself sweet, but it brings out a sweetness and a creaminess in the cheese. It's like, it's really quite extraordinary, the immediate change that it makes on the palate. It's fascinating. They work together so well. So I just seen a question at the bottom there. I tend to have it at room temperature if I'm having it with cheese. If I was drinking it on its own, sometimes I just put an ice cube in there. But yeah, with the cheese, I think because the same, you know, the cheese is at room temperature, the ice cider at room temperature, I think it works well that way.
It's certainly an amazing combination. Sabina, thanks for your information into Stitchelton. I think we're going to put a banner up in a minute, but to prompt the audience to do ask some questions as well about things that we haven't covered this evening, to ensure we cover all bases. But I'm going to move on to you, Andy, if you don't mind, just to talk about your ice cider. So, if you'd like to introduce Sanford Ice Cider.
Yeah, sure. So, well, first of all, if I could just introduce Sanford Orchards as well. So we started in 2002. My boss, Barney Butterfield, born and raised in Sanford Village, which is just outside of Crediton near Exeter. He's obsessed with cider, and essentially started making cider that he wanted to drink. So back in 2002, the market was still pretty dominated by pretty poor quality cider. So he started making it for himself. The rugby team started drinking it, and they kept drinking more and more of it, and he carried on making more and more of it. So
Which
now,
rugby team?
Crediton. So he was playing for Crediton at the time as well.
Sorry.
And yeah, so now fast forward 20 years, we're Devon's largest cider maker, but still an independent family business. We've just wrapped up apple harvest, pressed about 2 million litres of fresh apple juice from Devon cider apples. So it's a hell of a thing. To give you some context, so the ice cider, this is certainly one of our most kind of niche but premium products that we make. I think I made about 1,000 litres of it 2 years ago. So this is something really special. We're one of the only cider makers in the UK that produce ice cider. It's not a traditional drink here, and it's made in quite a technical process to make it. It is something that was popularized in Canada. So over in Canada, obviously they have very brutal winters, I suppose you could say, to the extent that apples can freeze hard on the tree. As the apple starts to thaw, they then press the apple, and you'll extract a concentrated juice. So this form of pressing is called cryo extraction. You then ferment that juice. So what you've done is you've removed some of the water. You end up with a much richer flavour. So we do a more contemporary means of doing that. We obviously don't get those super cold winters in Devon, so we can't allow them to freeze on the trees. So we take juice and we put it into the freezer. So I pressed about 6,000 litres of juice, put it into freezers, and then as the as the tank thaws, I'm removing the juice from what is, you kind of end up with like an iceberg left in the container. So I'm extracting all of the apple juice, which really intensifies the flavor characteristics of it. So it's like the juice itself is remarkably tasty. It would make the most incredible cider ice lolly. And so we then take that juice and we ferment it. So its sugar content is extraordinary. And so now I'll pitch a specialist. So I use a champagne yeast because it's also quite cold. So I need something that's going to be able to work in really difficult conditions. So then that'll ferment right down to, well, we get a whopping 15% alcohol. But that freeze thaw concentration only amplifies the flavor. It doesn't damage it at all. So you end up with what is effectively like cider on steroids. When you put your nose in there, you get autumnal fruit. I mean, it's just everything that reminds me of apple harvest, but intensified, like times 100. And to be honest, I always think of it drinking more like a port than a cider. I mean, obviously it's not fortified. It's just been fermented up to 15%, but the layers of flavor that you get from that higher alcohol content, it gives so much structure to the drink and so much backbone to it. But also then again, because it's so intense and rich, it's sweet, it's unctuous. We use fruit that we get at the end of harvest, hand-picked fruit. Those apples are really rich, really satisfying, really rewarding, loads of tannin. And again, so we just end up with this it's just Devon concentrate cider, I suppose. It's just the most intense flavor you'll get out of a cider apple. So then to match it with this incredibly nice, rich, unctuous cheese, it's just like, I'm pretty happy here. I'm just going to keep chomping away, I think.
Absolutely. I think we can all agree that this is a wonderful pairing. I mean, what a tough job we've got to taste cheese and enjoy ice cider. Certainly, it was the first time that I ever experienced it. I noticed your glass there, Andy, which is, I'm guessing, a Sanford glass, which is like a tulip, where you're harnessing the aroma and you're only allowing. It's not too abrasive on the nose, so you're getting the sweeter nuances, I guess, from when you're allowing the volatiles when you swirl.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Swirling it around, I can get, yes, it's so much sweetness and richness from the aroma. It's get loads of bittersweet apple characteristic. Actually, it's actually a cider salon, so that the world of cider is growing so much and so interesting now that there's an event in Bristol where all these craft cider makers all get together to show off ciders like this, which just 10, 20 years ago just didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so in the same way that, sorry, in the same way that like cheese is coming along such a way that, you know, I can go to bought the Stitchelton in a small town near me, but with the most extraordinary range of cheese. It was fun. It was fantastic.
Yeah. I think we have to give a mention to Salaman Sam here, if he's listening, or I'll certainly tell him to play this back. But Salaman Sam is doing a hell of a lot with cheese and cider as well, in a very positive way. And applause to people like Wilding Cider, who are doing some very innovative products with single varietals, Kingston Blacks, etc. Something I had very interesting the other day, ladies and gentlemen, was anchovies. It sounds really weird, but anchovies at a fantastic restaurant that you'll know in Bath called Landrace, where I enjoyed anchovies that were made there with Wilding's Kingston Black, fairly sweet cider. And I can imagine with the ice cider and that intense salt from the anchovy, how seamless that was. And it was absolutely incredible, that tasting. So I think this intensely rich, umami, buttery, incredible cheese. It's just off the scale, this cheese, with the toffee and the sweetness from this beautiful drink. It's amazing. One thing that concerns me, though, Andy, are you going to make lots more of it?
Yes, yeah, we'll make some more, definitely. Yeah, it's it for these sorts of occasions, you know, we also it sells really well into just fine dining establishments, restaurants, cocktail bars in Soho in London. Like it's got its place, and it's such a fascinating drink. I think it's one of those things, people have never heard of it, and then when they try it, it's just like, wow. So yeah, we'll carry on making it for sure.
I think it's. I think all of us will agree. I think we're all enjoying a few slugs of this right now. When you spoke about port with blue cheese and Stilton, which we all kind of lean towards Christmas. It's not just for Christmas, by the way. Port or Stitchelton or Stilton. It's all year round. That's really important to pass out. But it's for me, selling this was a doddle. When I did a market recently at Peterlee Manor Farm, which is a farm very close to me, lovely farm shop. We provide them cheese as well. And we took all the bottles of the ice cider that we purchased from you, and they were gone within about 3 hours. When I paired it with the Stitchelton, they all said, "But this is just incredible." I think it's important to not just think this is what has to go with my cheese, because that's what it classically says. We have to be innovative. We have to try different experiences, and this is the perfect for me for Christmas this year. Ice cider and Stitchelton is on my board, as well as as well as other beverages. But this is definitely going to be there. That's on the top. That's my comfort list. When the kids and my teenagers are making too much noise, I'll lock myself in another room, have a lump of the Stitchelton cheese and a bottle of ice cider, and nobody will disturb me. Panel, Lily, what do you have to say about the ice cider?
I absolutely love it, and I love how it pairs together with the Stitchelton. So as soon as I had the kind of, I always know a good cheese when it makes my mouth water, and it just excites me so much. I get that with Pitchfork cheddar as well, and Stitchelton's the same. It just like kind of explodes in your mouth, the flavors, and then washed down with the ice cider. I got instant toffee apples. It's just amazing. I really lovely, and I have sold a fair few bottles to my customers so far, but I can't wait to have it in all the time and to really, you know, pair it with that. I think it would go lovely with cheddars as well.
It's funny you said that actually, because Claire Lewis, who's watching, said Mary Quick recommends it with her mature cheddar, and Mary Quick recommended your ice cider to me, by the way, Andy. So that's fun.
The farm is literally down the road. When I was living in Exeter, working in Crediton, I would drive past Mary Quick's farm every day going to work. So yeah, it was quite extraordinary, and for quite a while as well. They were taking our apple pomace. The leftover apple was going to feed the cattle at the time as well. So that was quite a thing. Having Quick's cheese with our cider was lovely.
That's super cool, because if you can imagine where you are, your kind of aspects, and what the air and the apples and the soil is all going to be fairly similar to what the grasses are and the air that the cows are in. So what we're tasting is a kind of what grows together, goes together scenario, I guess, in a way as well. I think possibly could we say that? Do you think?
I think so.
I think probably, and maybe that's why this is just so perfect. Sabina, what do you think about the ice cider?
Oh, it's really like evoking. It's almost like nostalgic in a sense. Like, do you know? It reminds me of sitting and eating the apple peels off of Bramley apples as you're making an apple pie or an apple crumble, like those like tart, like earthy notes, like real, like proper Bramley apple peel is what I'm getting. And I think it's just like with the added sweetness. Like, I'm a fan of a tart apple. Like, I like a tart sweet apple. And I think it's got all those notes of apple that I'm like really into, and that color is just stunning.
Yeah, so gorgeous, isn't it? It's really good. Right. Yeah. I think also, dare I say it, Graham Kirkham, Mrs. Kirkham's Lancashire cheese. And he's great mates with your old man, isn't he? And they say in Lancashire, don't they, apple pie without Lancashire cheese is like a kiss without the squeeze. So apple pie in the form of ice cider with Lancashire cheese, which that would be perfect as well. I'm going to try that in a minute. We've got loads of it in the caves. We might have to go and dig some out in a minute, but that sounds good. Justin, why don't you try to speak now so everybody hears without you volume on, see if we can go through it.
Yeah.
Speakers are a bit weird.
Can you all hear me? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah, no, I think it's delicious. I think with certainly iced cider, iced wine, you expect it to be fiercely sweet. Certainly with some iced cider and wines that I've had, it's just been full on sugar. Whereas this got lovely sweetness, but a structure to it as well, that lovely acidity that comes through. And Andy, I think you said about the tannins as well. It's structured, it's got that nice chew to it as well, which with the Stichleton, they just marriage up really well. Yeah, no, I think it's super impressive. Rather than just going for fierce sweet, you've just got something called structure, sweet and acidity, it just balances really well.
I think so. I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think what we need to do now is I'm going to play a short video for a bit of fun, and then we're going to grab our cheese. And we're going to grab our ice cider and give it a good taste, and then give our real home thoughts of what this really is like. If this works. There we go. There we go. So that was Justin, who had been making recently with Sabina down up there, excuse me, in Nottinghamshire, and enjoying the learning from the blessed other cheesemakers, Joe and your lovely team over there. So thank you very much for that. So let's grab our cheese and Lily, let's some questions. And here is the cheese. Right. It's just stunning. It's an amazing rind. Got some beautiful blue running through it. It's cracking. I think my glass is dry. Let's grab some more of this. Who would like to be the first? Lily, why don't we discuss how this works in your as a cheesemonger? Shall we sell these two? As we've been selling it over the last few days, three cheesemongers here. We're going to tell you how we sell your produce, Andy and Sabina. Go on, Lily. Let's do that.
I can't really hear because there's two like speakers on. I can't hear what you said. Sorry. What did you say? Sorry, James.
I just said. Tell us what you think as a cheesemonger. Describe how you would sell this to a customer as a tasting now.
Together. Well, it doesn't really take much to me to sell. I don't mean me, but just. I literally have to give them a little piece of Stitchelton and they're sold, basically. It doesn't take much to have to actually sell it. But I was obviously, when I was putting it on Taster the other day, like they were all saying about the kind of nostalgic kind of feel it gives you as well, the ice cider, and it just pairs it lovely. It kind of just washes down the really creaminess in on your palate. And it's not too sweet. And that's what was quite surprising for me. From someone who hadn't actually tried ice cider before, I thought, oh gosh, this is going to be very sweet. It's going to be very liqueur-like. And I was really pleasantly surprised. It's very easy to drink, which is probably a bit of a worry. But yeah, it's just, I think it's just perfect pairing, really. And people will, as soon as you let people try it, that's when they'll make their mind up, and it's all about the kind of memories that it evokes, like Sabina said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's cracking, and I think it is so easy to be able to sell Stitchelton, isn't it?
Yes.
When you can always tell when somebody comes up to your cheese counter and they look at the customers will look at cheese, but as a cheesemonger, you train your eyes on their eyes to see where they're looking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a certain person that generally goes for a blue cheese, and it sounds maybe it is generally. I'm going to say it's more kind of my sort of age and older. Generally, the older men go for blue cheeses. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I do agree. To be quite honest, that is. And then I know this is very stereotypical, but I do find a lot of women go for more of the brie styles. But then,
that's absolutely right. Yeah,
like we said, that when you let them try it, because people are very scared of blue cheese, and there's a massive stigma around. Oh my gosh, that's got mold in it. I can't eat that. It's bad for me. And as soon as you explain to them, and that's why our job is so important as cheesemongers, by educating people that it's absolutely fine to eat and it just adds that impeccable flavour, they kind of trust you then. And as soon as they try it, they're away. And like Justin said, Stitchelton is one of those cheeses that isn't too in your face. It's not too punchy like you do find in some of the other Stiltons. And it's a very kind of a nice gateway blue cheese. Not saying it's a bad, oh, hello. It's not, the first blue that you need to try, but it is just, as soon as you try that, people don't really want to go and try another blue. Because they're just
absolutely. We could talk for ages about this, but I think you hit the nail on the head. When people look at cheese, you know what they're going to go for, and when you give them that cheese, you try the second upsell as well. You like this, and let me just get you this other cheese, which is brilliant as well. Because by that point, as a cheesemonger, we're assessing their palates, and if it's that middle-aged bloke like me rocking up, oh, why don't you try the old Winchester, sir, as well? It's going to give you a bit of bite. Put that over your pasta this evening for your carbonara instead of parmesan. It's from Liburn, from Mike Scales. So all of those stories build, and by the end, the customer comes in who thinks he's going to buy a piece of, I don't know, maybe another blue cheese. He's walked out with 500 grams worth of cheese and thinks to himself, what's going on? What's happened? But then he comes back and says, that was brilliant. And that's the answer of a cheesemonger. So yeah, well done, Lily. Yeah, well done. Justin, Hello, you're in the same room.
Yes. So for me, it's the story. When I went and made Stitcherton with Joe, give me the details. So with it being unpasteurized milk, Joe was very passionate about it being this amazing milk canvas. So there is obviously a judgment between raw milk and pasteurized cheeses, which I think equally are both delicious. But for Joe, he was telling me that it's all about the pastures. As soon as you pasteurize that milk, you're cutting that link off from where the cattle have grazed. So all that hard work that the cows are doing, grazing, having those grass, fresh meadow flowers that are going into the milk, as soon as you pasteurize it, you're cutting that link off, which I think displays all year round. So Stittleton changes throughout the months, which is really delicious. And when it comes to the rind is the most fascinating bit for me. It almost gives off as though it should be washed rind. It's got that dark, sticky style, even though it's not under that classification. But the flavour in it is less intense, but it has so much impact, almost like toasted biscuits. So I think it's super, super important to be able to enjoy all aspects of the cheese because it tells that story. When I try it, you get this first hit of dairy, almost milk bottle top, you know, when you get that fat cream on the top of a milk bottle, and then it starts going through into this umami, almost Marmite flavor that comes through. And I think for me, certainly supermarket Stiltons, they've been pierced, they've been aged and blued really quickly to sell on, which you almost get this metallic flavor that comes through, this kind of false blue, whereas because Stitcherton's such a slow make, even just takes 24 hours just to mold it. And then obviously when you pierce it a lot later, that blue breaks down the proteins, which you get this lovely piquant flavor. And it just tells a story. So for me, if you can tell that story of where the milk has initially come from to this finished product, I think it's a winner.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant cheese. And Andy, when you talk to your customers about your cider, do you get quite loquacious about it and talk in depth? How would you sell this to your prospective client who hasn't maybe ordinarily experienced the finesse of such a product in the cider world?
I think with this sort of thing, you just got to get it down their throat because it's just it's so unique. If I talk to someone about ice cider and they're normally drinking a Strongbow or whatever, it's not going to make any sense to them. But a bit like, but when you actually try something like that, I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who wouldn't enjoy that on some level because it's so interesting. But I work hard to make sure that these drinks aren't challenging. I want them to be approachable, tasty, balanced, and complex. So it's not just for a connoisseur's palate. This is for everybody to enjoy, and especially even on the label on the back there, it says to enjoy with a cheese board. It just gives people that opportunity, because so often that something like this people buy as a gift, Christmas present for someone. Christmas almost certainly means there's going to be cheese and people are going to have a really lovely dinner. So for me, yeah, I would probably look to sell this in cheese shops.
Something with the ice cider, is it a single variety or is it a mixture of apples? Is it something that you blend?
Yeah, this is a mixture of apples. You could make a single variety, and I would love to do that. I have done that.
Interesting.
In a different means and made some pretty gnarly things, but yeah, we
all above board, of course.
All above board, yeah. But with the ice cider in particular, we tend to use the hand-picked fruit from the really more gnarly ancient orchards that are around us. You can't get machines in there, you can just get people in there. And some of those apple trees, as we're learning, Barney's been on a journey with Bristol University and their genetics team. He's been going around the orchards and he's been taking cuttings from the leaves. And we've found that a hell of a lot of these apples, these varieties, are unknown. There's no record of them. So the people that did know all about these apples, that history and that knowledge died with them. So we're rediscovering these fruit, and we're finding out which ones are good for cider, and hopefully we're going to bring them back and use them for future cider. But so far, I think they've sampled some 1,000 or so trees so far, and hundreds of them are unknown, despite there being gene banks in the country where they are aware of several thousand different varieties of apple. So it's kind of like you're drinking some genetic history here as well. This is not just this is long lost, well, rediscovered cider fruit.
I think it's so important to realize that what we're drinking here is heritage, it's our history, it's who we are, and it's amazing that we've been able to discover, thanks to that chap in Quebec in '89, discovering the way of being able to make this beautiful drink. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Andy, as well. As far as cheesemongers, I spoke to one of your chaps in sales earlier on today, albeit via email, and I said I think this is also a good focus and a platform now to be able to shout out, and I'm hoping that this will stream to other people and people will spread the word of how ice cider actually is brilliant with cheese. It's really brilliant. It's a really good opportunity, especially with blue cheese, Lancashire for sure as well. We need to get this into places like Paxton's, to Patricia at Fromagerie. You and I have already got it, Lily, which is brilliant, as champions of this. And you know, if that can help the independent cider market, and it can help us sell more cheese, because on the back of a tasting like this, then that's what this collaboration is all about. So bloody good job, mate. Well done. Brilliant cider. Sabina, what do you have to say about this duo? This duo of blue and ice cider.
Well, I'm already making plans for instant gift ideas, because well, I have the Stitcherton on tap, but it's always nice to have like a complete experience to give to someone, instead of just being like, well, here's my cheese, I know you love it. But I'm really quite keen to see how some of like the Stitcherton fans closest to me take this. I'm excited to get my dad in on the picture when he's back on the weekend for our Thanksgiving. I think he's gonna love it. And yeah, there'll be plenty of other cheese-minded folk. In fact, a former Quicks employee and our family friend Bruce Rowan. So that'll be really interesting. It's
very incestuous, the cheese world, isn't it? you all stick together. Not incestuous, that's wrong. I mean, I don't know what I mean, but anyway, rewind. Sorry, it's the ice cider. Thank you for that. But yes, it's a big family. There we go. So there's a couple of questions coming through. Do you want to take these questions, Lily, on the chat, on the comments?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So first we've got Claire Lewis. She's asking, do you keep ice cider to age? And if so, how does it change?
Yeah, it ages very well, partly because of the high alcohol content, so it will keep very well. But when we first bottled this particular blend, it was probably the most intense and the most flavoursome ice cider that we'd ever made, and we were a little bit worried that it might have been too much. But actually, in the 2 years it's been in bottle, it's softened, and that tannin was probably the problem to start with, where it was a little bit too bitter. Well, that bitterness has mellowed now, and the fruit is coming out again, and it's sweet and unctuous now. So yeah, aging works really well with ice cider. This would still be good for years and years to come. So
great.
Another one there, have we?
So from Rebecca Louvre, what is Sabina's favourite pairing?
That's a very difficult one. It obviously goes through cycles. We'll all relate to going through moods. but I'm obviously like a huge fan of what the Trethallan brothers do. Like you are, huge fan of their pitchfork cheddar with pretty much anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I always find it difficult because I'm a huge Montgomery's cheddar fan, but also a huge pitchfork fan. So like I'm always divided. It's like a weird niche thing that I always used to enjoy. When I had a couple of years stint working part-time at George Muse Cheesemongers in Edinburgh, and my weird go-to pairing was Colleen goat gouda with membrillo. It was just incredible. Something about like the buttery.
That's going to be brilliant, though, isn't it?
Oh,
that's
it
going to be brilliant.
Good. It's like a legacy, one of my legacy like favorite cheeses of all time. It's so good. We're a big consumers of Parmesan as well in this house. Actually.
Oh my god, yeah, same.
I
had that for my lunch today. Yeah.
Just an absolute shock to the system when someone walks into the house and opens the fridge and explain to them we're cheese people.
Yeah.
I think we got another one, have we, Lily? Anywhere?
Oh yes, Cheese Needs is asked. I don't know who this is for, but could you infuse ice cider into cheese? I have done it with wine, but not ice wine or cider.
I don't know. Not something I've ever done before.
I personally think with flavoured cheeses, I'm not very for flavoured cheeses personally, because I think a cheese should be a standalone thing and it should sing itself. So maybe ice cider, I would personally prefer ice cider on the side, so I could then eat it with lots of different cheeses, more so than having it within one cheese. But that's my personal preference. I don't know about anyone else.
Anyone's tried Basayo? That's like an interesting like example of
crazy amazing cheese.
Crazy. It's just like it sounds like it shouldn't work, and at first you're like looking at this like wet piece of cheese, and it's like the smell like just like
exactly
volatile, but yeah.
If you look at Rogue River Blue as well, that's obviously got the pear brandy, hasn't it, over the top of the leaf? So that's got an infusion. But the chef Richard Corrigan, when I used to work at Wilson's restaurant down the road in St James's for many years, and I used to rock up to his occasionally, and he would have Crosier Blue in a jar, and he'd feed it a bottle of Banius.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
And he said, James, come over and have some of my cheese. It's fecking amazing. I said, fecking, by the way. Fecking amazing cheese. I said, what's going on here? Have a rasher of this, mate, on the plate with some soda bread. And we did. And it was bloody good. So I get what you're saying, Lily, because I think definitely have it as it should be.
Yeah.
But also have a little go at some. And honestly, when this came out, like this mousse of Crosier Blue soaked with sweet Banius, it was like, with his kind of lovely soda bread, which is signature Richard Corrigan stuff, it was like, okay, mate, I'm on for this. And a pint of Guinness on the side. It was like, let's just keep going all night long. And it was where the crack was at. That was where the crack was at in Mayfair that night. I can never forget it. It's all good. And we've got another couple of questions coming through, I think, Lily. What else have we got?
What else have we got?
Just underneath. That's a good one.
Long? Oh, Andy, how long will it last once it's opened?
Well, I love the fact that Rebecca answered her own question just below, saying that she's nearly drunk it all. So, to be honest, I would say probably at most a month once you've opened it, but keep it in the fridge. So, obviously, because it is stronger, it's 15%. It should keep a bit better, but you don't want to let it oxidize or anything like that. So just make sure, keep it in the fridge and enjoy it. It's a 500 ml bottle. So between a couple of you and quite a lot of Stitchleton, I'm sure you'll be fine. But yeah, just enjoy it.
Good stuff. Well, I think that's all the questions we've had in. Yeah. Unless Lily, have you had any others given to you today from your lovely customers?
I got one just asking what variety of apple you use in the ice cider.
Oh yeah, so I think I covered it earlier, but it's just it's a mixture of late season cider fruit that we use. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh,
Comment back from Rebecca Louv there. A month, it won't last the night. Well done, Rebecca.
Yeah, just I'm on I haven't got work tomorrow, so oh dear.
Well done. Well done you. Well done you. I think, ladies and gentlemen, this is brilliant. What an incredible, unexpected pairing with just very, very beautiful cheese and incredible ice cider, something that I have only experienced for the very first time this year. And I am very confident that a lot of the customers at number 2 Pound Street will be experiencing that this Christmas and hopefully beyond Christmas. Justin, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, the one thing I would like to say is to Sabina, I know that you've got a very, very small team there, and just wanted you to congratulate all of them there. I think that the amount of work that they put in is tiresome, and I think their love for Stitchelton that they do shows. And yeah, when I went and made it with them, they're so passionate, and I think that they need a good shout out as well.
They do. They're an incredible team. I've loved working with them from a small legal teenager for labouring. Although I was obviously not coddled at all. This is my father we're talking about. I pulled my weight, but I've always loved working with those guys. They're like a second family to me. And like as you say, the labour is hard. I've been making there since I was like a mid-teenager, and it's a full day's labour. But it's just incredible. Like I'd encourage anyone who has like an interest in getting away from a slightly more typical job where you don't get to move your body so much, you don't get to engage your brain. It's just like great for all those skills. And like a cheeky plug that if anyone's interested in a job, we are currently hiring. So I encourage anyone who's moving to North Nottinghamshire and
please don't look at. He's already been asked that by your dad. Stop.
I won't Justin, but to anyone else, please feel free to email or a message. That's what I'll leave.
It is a really tough job making cheese. As cheesemongers, we make cheese. We have to. I think any cheesemongers can't be called cheesemongers unless they get their hands in a vat and can really kind of understand the process properly. It's a damn hard job you all do, and we got massive respect for you, and for the passion and the love that you all put into producing these great cheeses. Well done. And I think the best cheeses, well, I know the best cheeses taste great because of the story behind it, but the people behind it who are totally at one with what they do, and are happy with subsistence. They're not, they don't crave super yachts. They're happy with subsistence and a cracking lifestyle with bloody good food, as I think we all should be, in my kind of opinion. So thank you very much for that. Andy, thanks man for being with us tonight and just bringing us this incredible product. Congratulations on your sterling work with your team at Sandford. Thank you, Mary Quick, if you're listening in, for your recommendation. Thanks to Chiswick Cheese Market, importantly, for allowing me to show this tasting unexpectedly and allowing us to win. But it wasn't me winning, it was the products that won it. But I'll take the fact that we won anyway with us. So it was really, really good. And lastly but not least, Sabina, thank you so much for being here. Lily, congratulations massively on your award of Cheesemonger of the Year and Ambassador of the Academy of Cheese as well, no less. The Academy has done so much. They've done so much. They're absolutely brilliant. Tracy, Rachel, Katie, everybody that's involved over there, Charlie, the Guild of Fine Food, everybody that is really putting cheese on the map. Cheese has turned a massive corner recently. I think in the last year and a half, we've turned. Something's changed. Something quite magical has changed in the cheese world. People are starting to get it, and I think it's also possibly a catalyst for us, for change in food, full stop, where we see, hopefully we'll see independent shops start to spring up in our villages and towns again, where we can actually get to grips, get back to the reality of food, rather than these huge industrialists that have unfortunately made our food taste not quite what it ought to, if you know what I mean. But no, thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody like to say anything else before we close off tonight?
I would just like to say thank you to you guys as well, and thanks for starting with all this hosting business, James. And also, it's such a lovely world to be in, the cheese world, and I'm sure it's like that with cider. Everyone is just so friendly, and the support I've got, and I know lots of other people have, like, that's what makes it so special. It's the people we're working with, and everyone's working together because we've all got the same mission, really, which is to really try and introduce people into this lovely artisan cheese world and things. So yeah, it's just such a lovely industry to work in with people alongside you guys.
That's really kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Cheese Needs. Thank you, Canada. Thank you, all of you that have joined in from cyberspace on this evening. It has been brought to you by YouTube, by Twitter, by Facebook twice, and also by StreamYard. But thank you so much, everybody, for being there. Annie, thanks for your time, mate. We'll be putting another order in. Sabina, so cool to meet you. You've got such a character. I've got an idea. I know where you get that from. We love your dad. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He's an absolutely sterling bloke. He's on top of the tree for me. Bless you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And from number 2 Pound Street, we always say, and I'm going to click the button very quick, it's going to say end the stream any second now. May the cheese be with you at Christmas time especially. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.